And kanina we had this specific slide saying Moses and Aaron being the top-notchers in missions, because what happened in Exodus was really something awesome, and it tells a lot about God's missionary plan and God's heart to touch the nations and to show them who He is. And ito yung kaila Moses. Wait, let me just share to you my screen again. Exodus tayo. Ayan. Exodus. Sa time ni Moses, I would also assume that you know this story, yung story ni Moses, how he, being a Hebrew, he was called to deliver yung kanyang mga kauri, which is the Hebrews, na ma-deliver ni God outside the Egypt, because they have been in slavery for hundreds of years dito sa Egypt. So Moses, ang daming pumapasok sa isip ko when it's about the story of Moses, but I'll just leave it to you kasi I trust that you know his story. So dito sa Exodus lang pinapakita yung plan ni Lord, kung gaano niya kagusto, gaano niya inumpisahan din yung pagpapakilala niya sa isang nation, which is Egypt that time. At makita natin doon, sabi sa Exodus 7:5 and all these verses, so that the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord. Paano ba yun nangyari? Yung plagues, kung maalala natin yung mga plagues, yung 10 plagues na yun, each of those plagues represent the idols, the gods of Egypt. And lahat yon in-overcome ni God. Bakit? To show, sabi nga dito, to show the Egyptians that He is the Lord. So that you may know that there is no one like me in all the earth. Very missional ito. Itong verse na to sa Exodus 9. In all the earth. So that you may know. Makita natin yung pag-emphasize so that you may know. God is about letting people know about Him. That is personal, experiential knowledge of who Yahweh is. He doesn't just want people to know na hanggang dito lang, but He wants people to be struck in the heart, so that will be in their experience and something very personal to them, na hindi lang siya basta knowledge, but it's wisdom coming from the Lord. Yung experience na yung encounter na magkakaroon yung mga tao sa Lord. That my name might be proclaimed in all the earth. Exodus 9. It's a lot of these verses in Exodus. So the plagues announced Yahweh's victory over the power of the occultic religion of Egypt. In the book of Samuel, again, nakikita niyo yung aking, ayan. David's dynasty, a continuation of God's promise. Ayan. As we remember, the promised Messiah is the David's seed. Now, the king issue. Israel wanted a king so they could be like the other nations. Yung pagiging inggitero ng Israel that time. Because Israel was the only nation in the world that did not have a king. because it was God who was ruling Israel. Kaya lang, they envied the nations surrounding them. And they said, we need a king. So God gave them Saul, pero nagka-problema kay Saul, and then later, they had David. And after David, they had Solomon, who was the son of David, and so forth. So of course, it was a wrong motive for them to have that king. Samuel's solemn warning. Israel wanted a king so they could be like the other nations. Had always been a plan of God, already promised by Moses. Gideon, Judges were disasters. I'll just leave the assignments to you. You have a copy of this PowerPoint. You can just look through all these verses. Okay. Finally, God graciously yielded to Israel's request, called David in place of Saul. Now, the seed, the promise continued in David. His house and kingdom will endure forever, established forever in Jesus. David did not miss God's point. He realized that he had just been given an everlasting dynasty, dominion, and kingdom. And this was linked with the ongoing promise that God had been announcing repeatedly. Salvation through David's seed of a woman, Christ, was God's plan for all humanity. And the ancient plan of God would continue, but as usual, it involved the future of all humanity. This is mission at its highest watermark. And that's mission in the Old Testament. So what do you think of missions? Some would say it is just another department in the church, and that missionaries are different from worship leaders, from pastors, and so forth, which I would agree with, but with reservations. I would say that we have different functions in the church, but actually no matter what we do in the church, no matter what the functions that we are doing in the body of Christ, I believe we are all missionaries. And we will talk about this more in our next lecture. So see you. God bless.